Hello from the Channel studio in London and welcome to another edition of Foreign Dispatches, the program that takes you around the world. I'm Teniola Oyetayo. On the program this week, new report warns famine in northern Gaza is imminent as more than 1 million people face catastrophic levels of hunger. Plus, Russian President Vladimir Putin wins fifth term with record number of votes. A United Nations-backed report has warned that northern Gaza could be hit by famine anytime between mid-March and May, and more than 70% of Gaza's 2.3 million population is facing catastrophic hunger. Some 300,000 people remain trapped in northern Gaza, where people have resorted to eating animal feed in desperation, and children have reportedly died of malnutrition in recent weeks amid difficulties delivering aid. In northern Gaza, the signs of starvation are evident, especially in children. According to UNICEF, 1 in 3 children under 2 years of age in the northern Gaza Strip suffer from acute malnutrition, a staggering escalation from 15.6% in January.
I'm currently at a Dawa medical point in the west of Rafah that serves or provides healthcare to over 7,000 displaced people. We continue to see a high number of malnutrition among children. This sends us a very alarming message as healthcare workers.
We observed that there is a severe malnutrition cases and mild malnutrition. So we decided with WHO to do like screening for these cases and to do early detection for the severe cases to be treated from our side and to prevent deterioration of these cases.
Parents are doing everything they can to feed their children, but it's still not enough. At least 23 children have reportedly died from malnutrition and dehydration in recent weeks. Aid is trickling in after months of deprivation, but the little supplies currently reaching the enclave are nowhere near enough to sustain a population that a UN-backed report says is weeks away from famine.
The latest findings paint an extremely concerning situation. And when we think about the north of Gaza, where the situation is the most precarious, the latest analysis tells us that famine is imminent in the period between now and May in the north of Gaza. That means when we look at the trajectory of food security and nutrition statistics, we're facing a catastrophic situation in technical terms. In the south of Gaza, the situation has also worsened, and there we maintain the projection of famine likely.
The escalation of hostilities has caused widespread damage to the agricultural sector, which is indispensable for the lives and livelihoods of families in Gaza.
So indeed, this damage has been quite significant. We estimate, just to use some examples, when it comes to livestock losses, obviously this is a sector that we're very concerned about. It's indispensable for the livelihoods and the survival of families in Gaza. We estimate that 60% of the milk cows have been killed, are gone. And then when it comes to meat production, meat cattle, as much as 70% of the stock has been killed. And when it comes to small ruminants, so goats and sheep, that percentage is about 60%. So these are large percentages, significant percentages of livestock, both for dairy and for meat, have gone.
UN Chief Antonio Guterres says Palestinians in Gaza are enduring horrifying levels of hunger and suffering.
The latest report on food insecurity in Gaza is an appalling indictment of conditions on the ground for civilians. The world's leading experts on food insecurity clearly document that famine in the northern part of Gaza is imminent. More than half of all Palestinians in Gaza 1.1 million people have completely exhausted their food supplies and are facing catastrophic hunger, according to the report. Palestinians in Gaza are enduring horrifying levels of hunger and suffering. This is the highest number of people facing catastrophic hunger ever recorded by the Integrated Food Security Classification System anywhere, anytime. This is an entirely man-made disaster, and the report makes clear that it can be halted. Today's report is Exhibit A for the need for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. I call on the Israeli authorities to ensure complete and unfettered access for humanitarian goods throughout Gaza and for the international community to fully support our humanitarian efforts. We must act now to prevent the unthinkable, the unacceptable, and the unjustifiable.
Also reacting to the report, the EU foreign policy chief accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war.
The territory of Gaza is very quickly becoming a territory without any kind of order, not a state, but a single order. It's more and more looking like Haiti, like Somalia, like Syria, or Mosul. This will be the first failed state before having existed. All territories beyond the control of a state become spaces captured by armed groups, organized gangs living off trafficking of all kinds, which basically leave population with only two options: immigration or terrorism. We are no longer on the brink of famine. We are in a state of famine, affecting thousands of people.
Israel denies it's intentionally starving Gazans. It has blamed the UN, which it says has created logistical challenges around aid deliveries. The Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, on Sunday also pushed back fiercely against what he described as international pressure over the war in Gaza. At a cabinet meeting, he repeated his determination to send forces into the southern city of Rafah. Israel's allies, including the United States, have warned Israel not to send troops into Rafah with concerns about mass casualties among the 1.4 million displaced people sheltering there. The prospects of a man-made famine in Gaza has sparked the strongest criticism of Israel from Western allies since it launched its war against Hamas militants following their deadly attack on Israeli territory on October the 7th. Israel says Hamas killed 1,200 people in the attack and seized 253 hostages. Israel's military assault on Hamas-governed Gaza has flattened the enclave and, according to Gaza's health ministry, killed over 31,000 people. It has also led to accusations of genocide being probed in the International Criminal Court. And to other stories now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has cemented his grip on power in a landslide election victory that has been widely criticized as lacking democratic legitimacy. The resounding win comes just over 2 years since Putin triggered the deadliest conflict in Europe since World War II by ordering the invasion of Ukraine. For Vladimir Putin, it's 6 more years in power after winning a 5th term as Russian president by a landslide of 87%. In his victory speech, the former KGB officer, who first rose to power in 1999, made it clear that the result should send a message to the West that its leaders will have to reckon with an emboldened Russia whether in war or in peace, for many years to come.
I want to thank the citizens of Russia. We are all one team. I want to thank all citizens of Russia who went to the polling stations and voted. Once again, this is an extremely important thing. The source of power in the country is the Russian people, and from the voice of every citizen of Russia, the unified will of the peoples of the Russian Federation. This is the most important pillar of the country's existence and its confident development.
Western countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, and the EU, have labeled the poll undemocratic.
We have seen the Russian elections, and a statement from the 27 will be issued after the council. But I want to anticipate that this has not been free and fair elections, no OSCE observation, highly restricted environment. This is diplomatically what I can say, but more than that, this election has been based on repression and intimidation, and being held on the Ukrainian occupied territory, violating Ukrainian sovereignty.
On the results of the presidential election in Russia, no need to comment. We all know that these elections were neither fair nor democratic or free. Romania condemned the organization of Russian presidential elections in illegally and annexed territories in Ukraine, but also in regions of Republic of Moldova, Transnistria, or of Georgia, South Ossetia, and Abkhazia. These are in violation of international law.
The election outcome means 71-year-old Putin is set to embark on a new 6-year term that will see him overtake Joseph Stalin and become Russia's longest-serving leader for more than 200 years if he completes it. For many Russians in Moscow, Putin's win did not come as a surprise.
The other candidates, in my opinion, are not fit to govern this state.
I'm very happy with the results, and in general, I believe that the future lies with our president.
However, inspired by opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who died in prison last month, thousands of opponents protested against Putin at polling stations inside Russia and abroad. In Moscow, there were scattered incidents of protest as some Russians set fire to voting booths or poured green dye into ballot boxes. The war with Ukraine also hung over the 3-day election, with Kyiv repeatedly attacking oil refineries in Russia and shelling Russian regions, a move Putin said would not be left unpunished. It comes as allies continue to call for more support for Ukraine, warning that the country is running out of ammunition.
Unprecedented aid from NATO allies has helped Ukraine to survive as a sovereign, independent nation. But Ukraine needs even more support, and they need it now. The Ukrainians are not running out of courage, they are running out of ammunition. Together, we have the capacity to provide Ukraine what it needs. Now we need to show the political will to do so. All allies need to dig deep and deliver quickly. Every day of delay has real consequences on the battlefield in Ukraine.
Speaking in Germany at the 20th meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, the US Defense Secretary said Ukraine's military continues to degrade the Kremlin's capabilities, and the United States will continue to support the country. But the statement comes as the US Congress continues to delay critical funding for Ukraine.
And Ukraine's defenders continue to degrade the Kremlin's capabilities. Ukraine has sunk destroyed or damaged some 20 medium to large Russian Navy vessels, and Ukraine continues to down Russian warplanes. Now, Ukraine's troops face harsh conditions and hard fighting. So our message today is clear. The United States will not let Ukraine fail. This coalition will not let Ukraine fail, and the free world will not let Ukraine fail.
Russia has repeatedly condemned NATO allies for providing weaponry and assistance to Ukraine, stating that it will only prolong the conflict and won't change the outcome. Moscow has also blamed NATO expansionism for triggering the current conflict, which Kyiv and its allies deny. Thanks for staying with us on the program. Some residents in Johannesburg, South Africa's economic hub, are facing a second week without water as breakdowns in part of the national water system is threatening the economy. The utility struggles to return supply after a blast shuttered one of its key pump stations, with taps running dry from Mbombela in the east of the country to the south of Johannesburg. Some residents are finding it difficult to go on with their daily lives. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Simosa, reports.
Thousands of residents are facing dire circumstances as the utility struggles to restore water supply following a critical pump station shutdown. Joburg resident Spiwe Mtombeni says simple tasks like cooking, cleaning and even basic hygiene have become nearly impossible.
You know, it's very difficult. It was very difficult for me, especially as a mother, you know, not having running water in the house, you know, hygiene most especially for hygiene purposes, because now you can't flush the toilet, you can't wash the dishes, you can't clean the house. So we would depend on filling up buckets, but the water is just not enough. It really disturbed me because, especially for my youngest child, we would have to go and collect them early from school because there's no water, there's no running water, there's no drinking water. So as that affected me because I had to make other plans. As a working parent, I had to make other plans, which meant that I have to spend more money finding someone to take care of the child.
As the water crisis deepens, residents are forced to adapt to a new norm where access to clean water is increasingly uncertain. Analysts point out that the government overlooked critical infrastructure maintenance.
Now, maybe the question that we need to grapple with is, what is the cause of this? I think partly is because of the appointment of wrong people in certain strategic places. Because if you are dealing with issues of water, you need to appoint professionals who can plan. Because you are speaking about infrastructure that is falling apart. So then the question is, why is that particular infrastructure falling apart? It is partly because of shortage of engineers, shortage of good professional managers.
This water crisis serves as a stark reminder of the urgent need for robust infrastructure and effective management of vital resources.
And on a lighter note, the biggest annual street parade in South Africa returned to Cape Town over the weekend. The Carnival, featuring over 1,400 performers, aimed to combine entertainment, cultural enrichment and community spirit in the city.
Performers take to the streets of Cape Town as the annual Carnival kicked off, celebrating the city's vibrant cultural heritage and diversity. Excited fans and paratroopers wore extravagant costumes, some resembling jellyfish and even sweets, as well as unique floats, including the iconic 7-foot-tall Zocala doll and a giant ant.
Carnival decided to make us a school of fish that move in unison together, and we've actually incorporated that theme into some of our dance moves as well.
Yeah, because we can float and glide because we're on wheels. So we're perfect for the fish in the ocean.
Chairperson and co-founder of the Cape Town Carnival, Rachel Yafter, said they aim to capture something light-hearted yet quintessentially South African.
So this year what we understood was that people were in the mood for something light, but something that's also very South African. In South Africa we have this past of divided society because of the legislation and policies we've had. In the Western Cape, the population composition is according to the then classifications of white, Cape Malay, some Indian, some from other African countries. But our idea was that irrespective of where you come from, whether the diversity is in terms of age or socioeconomic status or race, that we'd be an open house for everybody.
The theme of the event was lekker, an Afrikaans word meaning nice or enjoyable. 43 community groups and over 1,500 performers took part in the 2-hour-long parade, which stretched up to 4 kilometers along the fan walk in Green Point.
And we end the program in Egypt, where the Al-Azhar Mosque has hosted an iftar event for 5,000 Muslims, including many international students, as the holy month of Ramadan continues. The mosque is also celebrating its 1084th anniversary. Located in the historic Cairo area, Al-Azhar is one of the city's oldest and main mosques in Egypt. Take a look.
Al-Azhar Mosque in Cairo hosts a daily free banquet for thousands of international students at Azhar University who are observing the holy month Ramadan away from their families in other Muslim countries. About 5,000 people participate in the iftar event, even as the mosque also celebrates its 1084th anniversary.
This collective iftar is held for our international students who belong to more than 100 countries around the world. Al-Azhar Sharif is keen to host the banquet for them every year, and this is the third year in a row. We started this banquet 2 years ago, and we're in the third year.
For many of the foreign students, the banquet provides care and attention to alleviate the pain of homesickness. The students pray in the mosque yard while volunteers distribute iftar meals. Volunteer Ahmed Radwan helps distribute free iftar meals.
We distribute between 5,000 and 7,500 meals a year, and this is throughout the month of Ramadan. For 3 years, we have been distributing continuously every day, delivering meal carts, juice, and water daily.
The Ramadan tradition involved Muslims gathering to break their fast together after sunset. Al-Azhar University hosts students from 120 countries across the globe, 5,000 of whom break their daily fast at the Azhar Ramadan banquet, totaling around 150,000 free meals throughout the month. The huge mosque and university teaches Islamic sciences and receives thousands of foreign students from across Asia and Africa.
And that's the program today. But remember, our top stories are never far away. You can catch them on channelstv.com. Thank you for watching. I'm Teniola Oyetayo. Bye for now.